I am Aarti. I am a student of English language and literature. In this video, I am teach about Indian writing in English. There is a two parts of Indian writing in English: Anglo-Indian literature and Indo-Anglian literature. In Anglo-Indian literature means a literature which is written or created by Western writers about the Indian and Indian culture and etc. And Indo-Anglian literature means a literature or a creation which is written about Indians, but the writers of that writers are also Indian. There is a two parts in Indo-Anglian literature. The first is pre-independence era and second is post-independent era. Let's begin that. In this video, I am going to teach this both Indo-Anglian literature's parts. Pre-independence poets. First, we all in this PPT, I will mention these topics. Introduction. The Indian poetry in English started with verse, romantic, melody, and lyrics. The Indian poetry matured in mid-19th century. The writer of this era is mainly from the Bengal, and they were highly educated. They at the starting time they imitated the Western poets like Keats, Eliot, and Wordsworth, and etc. Indian English poetry is mixture of Africa, America, British, Australian, and Australian English, because we all know that in this starting time they imitate the Western poets like that is why that works are, we can see that they are a mixture of all the languages. The poets being influenced by various conditions and have contributed immensely to the field of English literature. Development of Indo-Anglian poetry. The Indian English poetry began with Romanticism. Indian English poetry is in the starting they imitates the Victorian and Romantic poets, and that is why that begin. We can say that it's beginning with Romantic times. The origin of Indian poets in English have surrounded the deep history of Indo-Western encounter centuries prior to the birth of Dorozio. Dorozio is a poet of Indo-Anglian literature. The first of these two conditions was happened at that time, the Indianization of English language, and began much before Anglicization of India. The Indian poetry first began in Bengal. Right from the beginning, almost all the poets of Indian origin writing in English were found to be containing strings, foreign influence, and Indian elements in poetry. Before the period of Henry Dorozio, the poets wrote on Christian sentiments, tradition, nature, Indian legends, and history. The prominent poets include like Torudat, Manmohan Ghosh, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, Sarojini Naidu, Harindranath, and Rabindranath Tagore. Background of poetry. Indian English poetry was different from the Western counterparts in its theme, language, and style of writing. Indian English language is the poets are very influenced by other Western writers, but we can see this difference in their poetry, like in its theme, language, and style of writing. The writer also wrote for the Indian audience, so it ought to have an Indian appeal which was likable to all. For them, the features of Indianness made the exotic and gave the deep feeling and experience of real India. The nativeness being communication. And Indian writer immediately, unadvertently communicate Indianness. Writers of poets of Indo-Indian poets. First, Henry Louis Vivian Dorothy. He is a great poet. He's a great poet and a teacher. He influenced the young people. He influenced young people for the freedom and freedom of India and etc. Fakir of Jangira, Matrikal there and other poems. This is a notable work of him, and he wrote the other works like The Moon, The Golden Days, Death My Friend, India My Native Land, The Harp of India, and To the Pupil of Michael Madhusudan Dutt. Michael Madhusudan Dutt is born in Bengal. He is known as epoch-making writer in Bengal. He began his career as an Indian English poet, and he has written advertently on his homeland and his poems and sonnets. He wrote edition of sonnets and long narrative poems. These are his works, and we can see his picture of his picture. She was died. Torodut sailed in Europe in 1869. She studied 1 year in France and 3 years in England. Out of her 2 works, one was published in her lifetime. That work was Chef Blanche in France. This work was published after the death of his sister. It combines the 165 lyrics. Manmohan Ghosh. He was a son of Krishnadan Ghosh. He was studying in Oxford University, where he befriended with Stephen Phillips and Lord Bunyan. He specialized in classical literature. Primavera is his famous imagery and artistic creation. This includes the work of Philip, Bunyan and Arthur are typical of the mood of world weariness. Arvindo Ghosh, the greatest Indian poet in English. He was born in Kolkata and a son of Krishnadan Ghosh, was medical officer. He wrote lyrics, sonnet, long narrative poems and dramatic poems. Savitri is his extraordinary reveal of love story of Satyavan and Savitri, and is one of the longer poem in history of English literature, and is roughly twice the John Milton's Paradise Lost. He is a great spiritual and philosophical writer. He compared by the Gogo as John Milton of India. Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu is known as a sobriquet Nightingale of India, and was a child prodigy, independent activist and poet. Naidu was first Indian woman to become a president of Indian National Congress. Her songs are meant to be heard rather than sing. These are the works of her, and this is a picture of Sarojini Naidu. Rabindranath Tagore. We all know this person, Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore was a great poet, essayist, painter, nationalist, educationalist, novelist, and dramatist. Tagore started his career as an Indian English poet in 1912. Tagore wrote only one poem, The Child, in English. His famous and immortal work, Gitanjali, which took the literary world of London and brought him the Nobel Prize in 1930. He is described as a national poet of India. His work, Gitanjali, is his finest achievement, which is made to devotion of motto. First independent poets. These are the subtitles of my PPT. Introduction. Indian English poetry is remarkably great. The pre-independent poets expressed the Indian themes in romantic and Victorian modes, and adhered to their forms and prosody, as well as the post-independent poets manifest the extensive experimentation and diversion from the conversation, modes of expressing and exercise of liberty in form of content and use of language. Development of poetry. Indian English poetry is oldest form of Indian English literature, which has attained both frequently and excellent of prose monastery. It represents the various phrase development of our multitudinous culture and national life right from the beginning and 19 to the mid-19th of the 20th century. It has two phrases there, for the development. Imitative phrase. We can say that the pre-independent poets are in the imitative phrase because they imitate the other Western writers and Western poets, and this assimilative phrase means a phrase in which the poets wrote their works about their experience and other things. Role of modern poets. Modern poets in poetry are free of use of English, which gives a poem its immediately of experience. They have been raised from the conversation and cosmopolitan culture to confront the new shape of things and acquire a new view of human's destiny. They have influence of British poets and they have their aim at the working of their own poetry. Modern poets includes like Nizam Ezeki, A.K. Ramanujan, P. Parathash Aarti, K.N. Darwala, O.P. Bhatnagar, Jayant Mahapatra, Kamala Das, Monica Verma, Gauri Deshpande, and many others have revealed tension in their respective poems. These are the new poets. We can say that Nizam Ezeki. He is known as love poet because he mostly wrote the theme of love and sex. These are the works of him. Kamala Das. Kamala Das is one of the women in Trinity. The other two are Nizam Ezeki and Ramanujan. Krishna Srinivas Iyengar. Krishna Srinivas Iyengar is one of the best poet of this age, and these are the works of him. In this class, we can see the pre-independent poets are, we can say that at the starting they write only prose, melody and lyrics. After the influence of various conditions and imitating the other writers, they started writing poetry.